Drums of War, Chapter 46, Part 2. On the bridge of the Tiger Lily. There were captains who believed in standing proud in the wide open space between the command chair and the forward bridge stations. There were captains who believed in lounging in the command chair. There were even captains who believed in standing behind the command chair and using it like a podium. Those captains were not the Second Star Rapid Response Group. Captain John Roberts was, like every other skipper in the Rapid Response Group, quite sensibly strapped in and already wearing his vac suit. They went into general quarters hours ago. It didn't make any sense to waste time at Targo preparing to fight. Of course, all the ship's atmo being stored away meant that all of the crew would have to rely on comms. But those systems had so many redundancies that losing shipboard communication was barely an afterthought, if that. "Okay, kids," Captain Roberts said with a grin. "You heard the old man. Ramirez, I want that calc 10 minutes ago. Anderson, give me the gunners a good spin so that we can push off the mass of the Tiger Lily. Wilson, link up with our squadron and find out where we are meant to be in the wedge." Orders snapped, and seeing that they were being followed, he keyed up the intercom and helmet speakers throughout the vessel and echoed his voice. All hands! All hands! We will now commence action. I repeat, we will now commence action." Captain Roberts said a silent prayer that there wasn't anyone out of station. Aboard the Trafalgar, Admiral Amelia, the sore Ross stood taut as a cable under about 30 tons of load. Even in a vac suit, her slender figure cut an imposing silhouette against the huge holotable before which she stood. She ordered the entire fleet to general quarters. They'd chosen the time, they'd chosen the place, and the enemy was about to learn that there was nowhere to hide from the Republic of Terra and her aligned planets once her wrath had been kindled. She'd read the order of battle, the contingencies that the brightest minds of the officer corps could come up with, and, as she'd cut the orders, the dice were in the air, and the tactical control of the upcoming action would be largely out of her hands. That, of course, had been why she'd carefully curated her command to have the most competent officers in their commissions. Some of those good officers were in all likelihood going to die in the coming hours. The enemy wouldn't just look at her beautiful ships, come to the correct conclusion, and surrender. Of course not. If they had the good sense not to pick fights with the Republic, they wouldn't beat the enemy. "The enemy only exists to be destroyed," she sighed, and completed the refrain. "If they knew, they'd stop being the enemy." T-minus 60 minutes. Upon the bridge of the glorious man of war of the Exarch Dominion, High Priest Master Zaquib Zenu sneered at the main display screen. Finally, he should prove those arrogant sons of the vengeful Goddess Republic for what they were. Future serfs destined for the altar like everyone else. The sniveling fools of the expedition had whined that these warriors had a power beyond that with which they had been furnished. Fools! Exer, may the stars tremble at his steps, had commanded these creatures be brought under heel, and so they shall be. His eyes drank in the image of the formation of hundreds of the sons of the vengeful Goddess Republic's battleships, speeding directly towards his mighty web of men of war, battleships, and cruisers. All he shall have to do is stand fast. High Priest, an initiate highborn who was beneath High Priest Master Zaquib Zenu, learning his name, they do flood our communications. The main display flickered and changed to show not the upcoming ships, but rather the depiction of a banner waving in the wind. It was a field of the deepest boy black, with a yellow circle of a star in the upper windward quarter, and a second larger orange and red circle in its center. It also contained a message, "We remember the among the star tides we sing." "Change to direct laser communications, you fools." "I obey, High Priest Master." Aboard the Robin Williams, Admiral Jock had strapped himself in before the holotable. Tradition and image were all very well and good, but morale might take a hit if the CO gets a concussion because he wanted to be seen standing up courageously in command. There he watched the enemy creep closer as the Second Star Rapid Response Group hurtled through space at incredible speeds. "O'Connor," he snapped, "do the enemy know who's coming to kill them yet?" "Aye, sir. All ships transmitting the Lost Boys banner," Ensign Liam O'Connor chimed in as his lilting accent of RBC. "Nobody waited for orders." "Good. So, sir, any changes in enemy activity?" "Aye, sir," Lieutenant Imani Sosa nearly barked. "They're building an LLN for comms. Slight thickening of planetary web on the side we're aimed at. Otherwise, no change." "Shots away, sir." Commander Raphael Almeida said. Admiral Jock nodded and ordered, "Send the order, form up the drill behind the Robin Williams, full speed ahead. Maintain oblique course relative to system plane. Formation will maintain a counterclockwise rotation." "Aye, sir," Captain Olivia Nguyen chimed in, as she confirmed the acknowledgments of orders received as they scrolled past on a station screen. "Good, good," Admiral Jock said, as he watched the flotilla slowly form up in his holographic display, casting a wan blue light over him. Then he commanded the bridge, "Captain Delidia, you have your orders." "Aye, sir," Captain Marie Delidia answered solemnly. "The tip of the spear of the Republic. Captain, I expect you to show all of these young skippers how it's done." "Aye, sir." "The CIP vessel? If she can keep up, she can keep up. So far as I'm concerned, they earned a spot on the spearhead." "Aye, sir." He cut the channel and watched his formation crash into the enemy's defensive web. The enemy ship ahead of the Robin Williams went from red to yellow on the display, indicating a mission kill, then the grey to indicate its destruction. The destroyers behind soon became mired in what for the naval action was considered point-blank gun duels over mere light seconds of distance. However, the formation was intended to deal with that. Ships in the core moved up and out of the formation to engage new enemies from behind the Robin Williams as she drilled into the enemy defenses without pause or mercy. The blue wedge sank deeper and deeper into the red net until its end was enveloped, and the ships to the rear of the formation retreated to the core to move up to the cutting edge of the wedge once more to drive the spearhead deeper still. Admiral Jock bared his fangs in a grin of grim satisfaction. Not a single blue ship's icon had flickered yet. Aboard the warp-speed battle wagon, Captain Lena Chen clutched the armrests of a news captain's chair as her comms guy, Alexei Ivanov, told her, "The Republic says we're up front with the Robin Williams at the tip of the spear. They say keep up if we can." Captain Lena Chen snarled, "Well, get our spot then." "Yes, boss," Jamie said. Captain Lena Chen thought maybe his voice sounded a bit tight. Then the crew of the warp-speed battle wagon watched the icons of the enemies creep closer on their displays at speeds best not thought about. Then Lee Vey highlighted a few weak spots in the enemy's ship blocking the Robin Williams' path, which brought a cruel smile to Marie Santos's face. They were nearly in range. Captain Lena Chen roared, "We remember that we sing for Marcus." She didn't need to order open fire. Maria knew what to do as every voice aboard the old rust bucket raised their captain's battle cry. "We remember that we sing for Marcus." The bulkheads of the warp-speed battle wagon herself seemed to thrum with the cry as she groaned under the stress of her newly upgraded near-sea cannons firing. Captain Lena Chen's eyes caressed the old deck plating behind the new consoles, and she whispered, "One last dance, girl. You can do it." In the tube of the Robin Williams, a slight change in the vibrations General George could feel through the straps securing him to the drop pod told him that the battle had been joined. With a cherished memory fresh in his mind, he found that his courage was easily gathered. Time to focus on the present. He keyed his comms to cut the division wide. No doubt he was interrupting a few hundred pool sessions and insult exchanges. "Gentlemen," he began, "the battle is joined. It has been a long, bloody road across dozens of worlds and thousands of vessels, and we've been trading blood for time. Time for the brave men of the DRS battalion to discover the target we're aimed at now. True, it has been mostly the blood of the enemy that we've been paying, but I do not mistake the courage and gallantry you men have displayed under my command thus far. Every drop, every breachhead, every friend sent to his eternal rest and repose has led to this point, gentlemen. Your stalwart defense of our would-be conquerors in the months it took to gain total war authorization and the support of the 3rd and 5th Army made the difference in not only Terran lives, but countless lives of the Xeno-friendlies that the Exarch considered unworthy of bothering to enslave. I do not forget that it was you men, without the support of the rest of the Navy, who drew the line. Not one step back has become another step forward, and another, and another, and another. The line was held, gentlemen, and pushed back. Now we aim right at the enemy's heart, take their emperor, kill the insane AI pretending to be a god, and force surrender. Time to teach the Exarch that the enemy only exists to be destroyed. That way they'll stop being the enemy. Victory is in our hands. Don't drop it. Then he keyed the comms to include only himself, Johnny, and Linus. Good speech, Pops, Sergeant George said. I thought so, otherwise I wouldn't have made it. Sergeant George's snorting laughter came over the comms clear enough before he cleared his throat and said, Good thing they couldn't see you, sir. General George's power armor had gotten uncomfortably warm over the course of the speech, and he said, Yeah, well, none of the George men are known for our looks. Good luck, sir, Sergeant George said soberly. We'll see you dirt side, Pops, Captain George added. Keep your heads up and boots down, boys, the general said, and may the good Lord shepherd us all through. Aye, sir, the sons told him. There was more in those words than many fathers are blessed to hear in their whole lives. Aboard the Tiger Lily. If one were to compare the massive formation currently cutting its way towards the planet below to a drill, one wouldn't be wrong. Captain Roberts preferred to think of it as a massive ballet. A deadly ballet, to be sure, but he was of the firm belief that if the ship's movements were set to music, the chaos of battle would be transformed into a thing of terrible or inspiring beauty. Even as the Tiger Lily's twisting corkscrew arc to avoid the centuries-old debris, much more recent debris, friendly vessels, and lots of friendly target vessels in their path, shoved him against the side of his command chair. He knew that Ensign Michael Anderson was doing something very few people had the capability of replicating. He kept an eye on the readout on the right arm of his command chair, where the progress of the formation was displayed. If it wasn't for that display showing the relative speed of the formation, he would have thought that he was in a slog. As it was, he could see that his squadron was becoming the base of the wedge. All right, kids, he said. Pick some parting targets. It's almost time for us to run up the middle again. A rotating wedge formation wasn't all that new, but nobody had tried a rotating recycling wedge before. It was damn effective. Aye, sir, Lieutenant Adam Ramirez said. A quick glance at the gunnery readout told Captain Roberts that the lieutenant had cut some orders to hit some very good targets. He'd be damn sad when that man got promoted. Upon the bridge of the glorious man of war of the Exarch Dominion, High Priest Zaquip Zenu beat the fool who had reported that not a single of the foolish enemy vessels had been so much as scratched with a shock baton. How dare his subordinates fail in such a disgraceful way? Not even the two ships at the head of the enemy's foolish formation had been touched, and somehow they had destroyed over a score of his own vessels. Fools! He roared, spittle flying between his teeth. They come straight at us. They drive deeper into our nets, and you fail to destroy a single of the arrogant sons of the vengeful goddess republic. The altars will be slick with the blood of the unworthy acolyte lords, if not changed soon. Aboard the Trafalgar, Admiral Ross watched Admiral Jock's second star rapid response group come to grips with the enemy with her hands clasped wrist and wrist behind her back. The first tooth was in, and it was close to time for the saw to go to the work, bloody work. She admitted privately that Admiral Jock had been right about his ability to leverage speed and firepower. She took a mental note to tell Admiral Jock so later. He was cutting through their defensive web like a blowtorch through butter, and the enemy commander must be frothing at the mouth. The corners of her mouth quirked upwards briefly at the thought. T-minus 98 minutes. End of chapter. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.